Great. So welcome everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the final day of the 14th annual Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival. The Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival, established in 2008, is a 4-day poetry festival in Deep South Texas, held concurrently in two countries on the last full weekend in April when possible. Usually it's here across the border in Mexico and Texas. This year, like last year, due to COVID-19 concerns, our 4-day festival is virtual. All events are held online and our Facebook page at facebook.com/VIPF Poetry Pachanga. All registered participants have had access to the virtual events and workshops for participation. We thank you for registering online. VIPF was founded by Daniel Garcia Ordaz, publisher of El Zarape Press, and Brenda Neros Riojas. This year's festival is sponsored by the Macallan Poet Laureate, El Zarape Press, Flower Song Press, and from the Academy of American Poets. We continue on this final day of our festival with our literary press showcases. The next showcase is Aztlan Libre Press Author Showcase with Laurie Guerrero, Amalia Ortiz, Barbara Jane Reyes, Barbara Renaud Gonzalez, Reyes Cardenas, Edward Vidaurre, Ben Olguin, and Vincent Cooper. Aztlan Libre Press is represented by Juan Tejeda and Anisa. Welcome, Aztlan Libre Press.
Thank you, Edward. Glad to be here. I think it's been a long time since we participated in something for the Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival. So thank you for the invitation, Edward, and to all of the organizers of this year's festival, all virtual. Just briefly, a little bit of history about Aztlan Libre Press. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary this past year in 2020. Mi compañera y esposa Anisa Onofre and I began it back in about 2010 was our first publication with Alulista's book, Tuna Luna. And over the last 10 years or so, we've published 13 books, primarily poetry, though you can see here, we have an Aztec calendar coloring book there, and we published the late great Chicano historian's history on indigenous people in North America, Juan Gomez Quiñones from UCLA, his book. And we published columns here, Las Nalgas de J-Lo that you see here behind me by Barbara Renaud Gonzalez. And we've published a series of Chicano art note cards with envelopes. And we're getting ready to publish our 14th book, which is an almost 50-year retrospective of writings by Roberto Dr. Cintley Rodriguez, his longtime Chicano journalist and columnist and academic. So we're doing a retrospective of his almost 50 years. In fact, the title of this book is Writing 50 Years Más o Menos Amongst the Gringos, and we hope to have that out in fall of this year. So we're excited about that. And we're really excited about presenting today's Aztlan Libre Press showcase with 8 of our poet authors that we've published over the years, especially during this gacho pandemic year. Everything has gone virtual. So this is the first time we've done something like this with so many of our authors together in one showcase. So I'm really excited about that. Edward mentioned the names of the authors who are going to be presenting here today, and I'll be introducing each one individually. And the way we have this program is that each one is going to read about 5 or 6 minutes, approximately 2 or 3 poems. And I've asked each one to read a poem from the book that they published with Aztlan Libre Press, and then they can do something more current or from one of the other publications that they've done. And welcome to everybody who's out there listening and joining us on this Zoom presentation today. If you're interested, you can get more information on all of these authors and all of the Aztlan Libre Press authors and publications by going to our website at aztlanlibrepress.com. So we're going to go ahead and start. And our first presenter today is Laurie Guerrero, who was born and raised on the south side of San Antonio and is the author of 4 collections of poetry, including her latest, I Have Eaten the Rattlesnake, New and Selected, from Texas Christian University Press, just came out recently, right, Laurie? She was appointed the Poet Laureate of San Antonio in 2014 and the Poet Laureate of the state of Texas in 2016, and currently is the writer in residence at Texas A&M University here in San Antonio. Aztlan Libre Press published her book, A Crown for Gumecindo, in 2015, which won the Helen C. Smith Best Book of Poetry Award from the Texas Institute of Letters. Please welcome Laurie Guerrero.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to my peers, my colleagues. It's lovely to see your faces. I've missed everybody so much. I'm gonna read one poem from A Crown for Gumecindo, and then a new one that came out of the new collection. So this one is called Casketing. I've buried everything I've ever loved in the bone of reason. Now, even in dreams, you are dead. Sometimes I wheel your metal-colored coffin to the grocery store, once to a paperie, twice to Fiesta Bakery on Pleasanton. You are heavy. Once I was in high school in a play and parked you stage left. Always I shake you. Wake up, damn you. Sometimes the casket is open and I kick you. And when in my small shoes I make contact, your ribs crumble like the bark of an old mesquite. Wake up, wake up. We can't run the numbers, argue, make your mother's bread if you are always going to be dead. And this one is called Letter to My Children About the Mouth. To my son, if she lets you, always kiss the girl, but always kiss her softly. The mouth of a girl, no matter what poison she has tasted, spit forth, is the small womb that breeds the whole world. Do not think you deserve her mouth even more than she. To my daughters, when they go to kiss you, if you have so allowed, if you have not kissed them first, remember it's the rope of your voice that holds your bones together. Remember each perfect note, each dissected vein, each blossom of thought is shared through that mouth. And share, what better gift? If they are aggressive, you need not wait. You already know the delicacy, the gift of your many, many tongues. Thank you.
All right, Laurie.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. It's been a long time since we've seen you.
I know.
Miss y'all. We miss all of y'all. So thank you. We're doing kind of short and sweet presentations since we have a lot of different artists, and we wanted to have each one do at least a couple of poems here. So we're going to continue with our presentation. The next reader is someone that y'all know, Edward Vidaurre, who in fact is the organizer and creator, not the creator, but the organizer of this year, one of the coordinators of this year's Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival. He's the author of 7 collections of poetry, his latest being Pandemia and Other Poems, which Aztlan Libre Press published this last year in 2020. It's our latest publication. His book, Jazz House, recently won the Award of Merit 2020 for Best Book of Poetry by a Texas author from the Philosophical Society of Texas. He was the 2018-2019 City McAllen, Texas Poet Laureate, a 4-time Pushcart nominated poet and publisher of Flower Song Press, our sister press. Vidaurre, whose parents are from El Salvador, was born and raised in Boyle Heights, California, and now resides in McAllen, Texas, with his wife and daughter. Please welcome, reading some of his poems here for y'all, Mr. Edward Vidaurre.
Thank you. This feels a little weird being on this side as a guest during all this, but I'm very happy to be here amongst my press family. It's good to see you all. I'm a big fan of all of your works, and here we go. I'm gonna read 3 poems from Pandemia, from Aztlan Libre. This one is titled God Is. 1. God is an open wound, a kung fu movie and a celestial sicario. God made our presidents with leftover road cotton and grackle droppings. His sandals are of leftover human skin from factory of suicide rock stars. Today he wears the kneecaps of Janus to match his UFO belt. God is unfazed at 3 p.m. He whispers to me from a 6 feet distance. God lays naked on steel surfaces with his long hair covering the shadow of men. God has a sticker on his chest that reads, I voted. He's nonchalant. He has a twin. She does all the good work. 2. God is your God's God, yoga and breathing. She is the breath of life. Latex gloves and exhaling the sun over mountains. She is the blamed, the curve, the torn Achilles heel. God is a beat poet, the coming strain, the big question, the control, the last minute mind changer, the finger on the gun, the safety switch. God is the ultimate filter, the event planner, the street cleaner, the thing in the sky that was there and then was not, the ventilator, the death toll. She knows the bodies are coming. 3. God is language, a lisp and stutter. God has Down syndrome, the autistic genius, the only child from the other side of the tracks. Have you ever thought of God as old, the wrinkled hobo and toothless smoker, the girl next door, the square-jawed bad hombre, creator of a new earth between ellipses, growing peonies on hyphens? God is soil and water, the trans angel, the monk making booze, the anorexic gargoyle breaking off a ledge, the movement in the painting. God's number is 8 digits behind iron bars, the noisemaker, the vuvuzela in purgatory, guilty. God is doing time. 4. God is a found poem, in exile, an unbelievable truth, an asteroid belt crash, mammoth, that sound, that silence. 5. God is tired of rising on Easter. God is trying to figure out the diameter of this pandemic, writing ghostly hymns for the dead. Did you know God was the celestial laureate? Skywritings, the sounds you hear in the morning of birds and wind chimes, speeding cars and barking dogs. Did you think the sound was just that? Commotion? God writes those sounds into existence every day. I know when God is in a Motown mood, a hippie rock, or just a lounging jazz mood. And when it's too quiet, God let the whiskey get the better of him. 6. God likes to drink with me. I listen. You can't be a writer and hate trees. Not even if one falls on you or kills someone you love. Do clouds feel the pain when they tear apart from each other? What is the sound of their grief? Which holds the rain and which morphs into an elephant with a knife through the heart? Which one heads to the mountain head on? And which one loves the most? Do they make sounds when they dissipate? What of their gray throats? Does the sun pierce through the oldest? Does the moon have any use for clouds? There's a mild chatter the rain gives on these iron stairs that lead to you. It rained and then it didn't. My smile lasted longer. Do my hands run across your body like a train hugging its tracks, heading strong into a dark tunnel to die without fear? Or do they just feel like rain, my sweet flower? There's a town where the dead live parallel to each other, above ground in homes with sad eyes. There are also those dead that live blocks away, just a few feet under, with life to spare. New York, did Lorca write your story? Did he walk into your city like a skyscraper with legs riding on you like a graffiti artist in the forgotten hours of the night? Does he dare to write about my border town with truth? Does his duende walk along the banks of the Rio Grande, weeping? Has anyone bothered to ask the trees for the truth? Last breath. Fire translates to I can't breathe. Looting translates to I can't breathe. We need to come together. I'm sorry. I got to work as a tech guy too. We need to come together as a community. Please stop the violence translates to screaming, the language of the unheard. America has put people of color on mute for too long, for that long, a long time ago. Racism still burns across this land. Broken glass is replaced, broken necks are not. Fire is put out by water, last breaths are put out by hatred. Burn America, rising smoke is you on your knees, is you making excuses, is the last crackling ember of the lies you keep rubber bulleting into our face and chests. White America, you need to leave our country now. You need to oust the criminals in your family tree. You must find a cure for the virus in your DNA that executes daily. Learn a new language, one that speaks with kindness and humility and a colorblind lens. We don't like dying. We don't like burying our children, uncles, aunts, sisters, brothers, fathers, mothers, grandparents. Don't beg us to stop being angry for the sake of a grocery store, a gas station, a racist monument, or anything else. It sounds like a joke when you want to exchange this for calm until the next murder of another brother or sister or child. Hold your hands up in the air. Hold your breath. Let us leave the room for a while. You may die, but at least you weren't terrorized until your last breath.
All right. Thank you, Edward. I know you have your hands filled right now with the whole festival. This is the last day. I'm focusing on presses from throughout. We are Aztlan Libre Press, presenting 8 of our authors and poets that we've published over the years. If you're interested in more information about the press or about any of these authors and the works that we've published from them, check out our website at aztlanlibrepress.com. We're going to continue with our showcase here of poetas. Our next reader and poeta is Barbara Jane Reyes, who is the author of 6 books of poetry, most recently Letters to a Young Brown Girl from BOA Editions in 2020, and Invocation to Daughters from City Lights Press in 2017. She is also the author of 3 chapbooks, including For the City That Nearly Broke Me, that Aztlan Libre Press published back in 2012. It was one of the early books that we published. She's an adjunct professor of Philippine Studies at University of San Francisco, and she lives in Oakland, California. And coming to you live from Oakland, California is Barbara Jane Reyes.
Thank you so much, Juan. And hi, everybody. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you, Aztlan Libre Press. and Edward, and I was so happy to hear, Edward, your poetry, Laurie, and your poetry. And I am going to read the first Oakland poem that I wrote, which is in For the City That Nearly Broke Me. I wrote this poem called There or Here after a poem by Oscar Bermeo, who wrote a poem after Martin Espada, who wrote a poem after Federico Garcia Lorca. And this is my Oakland poem. Here in a city once covered with oak trees, here in this city called Oaktown, there is a there we live here in the city called Oaktown. A century of brick and marble hotels here in the city called Oaktown, where cracked cherubs hang from gold leaf ceilings here in the city called Oaktown, where oak tree roots crack open the pavement here in the city called Oaktown. Brothers sit on their stoops and crack open their 40s here in the city called Oaktown. Peace out, little sister, be safe tonight here in the city called Oaktown. I stumble home with a whiskey smile here in the city called Oaktown. Djembe funkadelic 24/7 here in the city called Oaktown. My window rattles and shakes to the beat here in the city called Oaktown. The banana tree outside my window sways here in the city called Oaktown. Capoeira on the sidewalks, Dwayne's Bumpin' Cafe here in the city called Oaktown. Sweet smelling brothers rapping in French here in the city called Oaktown. Corner store chapche and kimbap saran wrapped here in the city called Oaktown. Wonder Bread, Wild Turkey, Old English 800 here in the city called Oaktown. Oh, Jackson Street, oh, new condo rising here in the city called Oaktown. Oh, double paned windows overlooking the lake here in the city called Oaktown. Oh, Tribune building here where she jumped here in the city called Oaktown. Oh Lord, she never told me her name here in the city called Oaktown. Oh, despair and cheap bourbon of the corner store. Oh, Oaktown, bleeding pavement and crack here in our city called Oaktown.
Yeah.
And let's see. I wasn't going to read this, but I kind of feel like I need to do a shout out to Tupac and Digital Underground because our boy Shock G just passed away. So this is My California, which I did start with Let Me Serenade the Streets of LA from Oakland to Sacktown, the Bay Area, and back down. In my California, we wild, wild west. We Gold Rush fabulous. We Watsonville Carabao. We Morro Bay rock. We Walnut Groove boogie. We broccoli bebop. We Tule Lake. We Manzanar. We Poema en Español. We stand at the end of El Camino Real. In my California, we know heathen Chinese. We know Hollywood starlet. We know there is there. We know pesticide, water. We know Mojave rattlesnake. We truckin' hard down the grapevine. We charging SUVs up the Altamont Pass. In my California, we know how to party. We Black Panther party. We Tupac and Dre. We dime a day. We dollar a dance. We Fillmore jazz. We summer of love. We Barbary Coast. We I Hotel. We Chinatown. We North Beach howl. In my California, we know Baywatch, babe. We East Los. We South Central LA. We Rodney King video. We Campesino. We mighty Sacramento River. Rooted deep sequoia giants. We love in the wind, we kiss in the sky. And I will end with a short poem from Letters to a Young Brown Girl, which just came out this year. And this I wrote after West Oakland's own Afro-Pinay blues singer, Sugar Pie DeSanto's Soulful Dress from 1964. We'll shake and we shout till morning and roar. No, there's nothing tamed about us, not this hemline, not this neckline, not the streak of red lipstick, not these shit kickers, nothing silent, nothing shy, Nothing here but fly. Nothing, asking nothing from you except get out of our way, except this is no ask. Don't tell us to dial it down. Don't tell us to be ladies. We'll show you our teeth. Don't lecture that we reckless, just recognize. You step the fuck back, son, and you recognize. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Barbara Jean. Great. I love all these poets' work. And what a treat to have people coming from all over, from Oakland, California, to El Valle del Rio Grande, to here in San Antonio, to Southern California, and even from one of our special readers today, who's going to be coming to you from Oaxaca, Mexico. So, there's this virtual thing is kind of interesting. I think it's probably here to stay. And even though I can't wait to get back to the in-person readings and book sellings and kind of get that intimate person-to-person and feedback from the audience contact once again. All right, we're gonna continue with our readings. We're gonna present a young poet here from the west side of San Antonio. Vincent Cooper is the author of Where the Reckless Ones Come to Die, that we published here at Aztlan Libre Press back in 2014. Another one of the early chapbooks that we published. And he's also the author of Zarzamora with Jade Publishing that he published in 2019. His poems can be found in Somos en Escrito, Huizache, and River's Edge Journal, coming to you from the west side of Yanaguana, San Antonio, Tejaztlan. Please welcome Camarada Vincent Cooper.
All right, thank you all. I'm gonna read some new poems real quick poems, and then one from Reckless. This is from a section. My new work is Counting My Time in the Military. And this is about the Theo who was from the West Side and went to Vietnam. Love. My Thea met you while you were in ROTC. Then again, at a West Side baile. Talked to me, played as they danced. True Chicano love. And a picture, maybe, of a teenage you, her, a mutual friend, and the devil from El Camaroncito.
Hey.
Hey Jude, through the speakers of a radio playing in Vietnam, when you were told you're going home. The process, pack your uniforms and gear in the green sea bag neatly. Pictures with Marines, cigarette in mouth, shirtless and smiling. Passport stamped, Okinawa, Japan. The cold Pacific gently embraced the mountains to Los Angeles International, then a shuttle bus down to San Diego, to San Antonio Airport, and no one to greet you. You kiss the ground when you land, call a cab. Hippies of the 60s protesting the war keep baby killer in their mouths, tight like the clothes in your sea bag. You strut on through. The cab driver is still one of the few to greet you with, thank you for your service. You don't remember his name. At home, on the west side of San Antonio, no welcome party, just dad watching TV. No friends in the front lawn waiting with a beer, nothing. Infidelis. Full Metal Jacket is your favorite movie on Marine Corps boot camp. The accuracy of the gunny and Gomer Pyle's rifle in mouth. Guys at Pendleton would jump the Constantine wired fence at night, run across the 5 freeway and get hit by cars driving 80 miles per hour. Others fell down the hills to their deaths so they wouldn't become a Marine or go to war. Lots of suicide attempts, mijo. Good night, Vietnam. I am a father of 6. I remain father hungry, collecting fathers as I go. But now they are dying. The men you served with held Trump MAGA hats in the air, spouting hate and violence. To them, I say, good night, Vietnam. There are no Marines in Aztlan. British evasion. Julian Lennon could never be like his father. He did everything wrong, but wrote a great soundtrack to deal with Vietnam. And I'll close with Sangre de Chicano. Growing up, people asked me if I was Italian, white, Boricua, Black, Chinese, Native American, never Chicano. I live in the Marvin Gardens section of the West Side, where the old schoolers can still hustle like they did those summers in the 70s. To them, I am still a kid, but I feel the way they look, darkened by a ghetto sun and wasted from breathing moldy barrio vapors. And if I ever cry, the tears pour out for everything and everyone, all the years, but you will only hear a hush, then a train passing by. My father's birth name is Orantes. He took the name Cooper after the white man that raised him. I've been a Chicano since day one, even in the womb of my mother, sobbing over a self-hating Hispanic. When they see me now, there is no doubt in their minds, no uncertainty nor uncertainty in their hearts. I stare down Rottweilers that drool and bark viciously behind rotted wood fences, at pimps and whores who signal me over with a cigarette and Ozarka water bottle. Huercos mocosos scowl back with a bounce ball that needs to be inflated. A crew of vicious high school dropouts with 210 or Spurs logo tattooed on their neck want drugs, money, sex, and blood. Old ladies smile heading over to a church for bingo and barbecue plates. Chicano cops stare me down, viewing the tattoos on my arms, making a judgment call. I am an honorary West Side Chicano walking toward you, walking through you. My legacy is being a tribute to the reckless ones who never wanted this and wished for me to stay in Hollywood to become a movie star. Thank you.
Right, Vincent. Thank you. I like this, getting 5 minutes or so, un cachito from a lot of different poets, and coming to you from all over the US and even in Mexico. Actually now, Edward, I had programmed Barbara Renaud Gonzalez. Has she come back on yet, or is she on, or do you want to wait a little while to see if she gets back on?
Should be on.
Barbara Renaud, are you there, Barbara?
No, I think so. I think I'm on, but I can't seem to get the video. I tried everything that everybody suggested. It doesn't work. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but I guess we don't have your video for some reason. We're having some technical difficulties here. Barbara is coming to you from Oaxaca, Mexico. I guess we can go ahead and do it and just do it like in the old style radio program, Barbara, ¿verdad? And you read.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that you have a little music, so let me introduce you. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead and do that. All right, so Barbara Renaud Gonzalez graduated from Pan Am, she says, now the University of Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, a long time ago, enveloped by the Magic Valley language, culture, and people. She has published 3 books, including Golondrina, Why Did You Leave Me? The first Chicana novel published by the University of Texas Press under their Chicana Matters series in 2009, and her recent book, Las Nalgas de J-Lo, the best and most notorious calumnas by the first Chicana columnist in Texas, published by Aztlan Libre Press in 2018. And while most of the writings in this book are her best columns, she was a longtime columnist for the San Antonio Express News here, she begins each of the 8 chapters in this book with an original poem. So she's going to be reading, I think, 1 poem from Las Nalgas de J-Lo, and then I think something new. And she has a special presentation for us with some music, I take it. Barbara.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry you can't see me. Maybe it's best. I'll send a photo later. Just to set, I love being around you guys, and let's be very clear. I know I'm not a poet. I just try, and it makes me a better prose writer. And it me da más, me aviento más. Let's put it that way. But I want you to know that I'm in the beautiful city of Oaxaca, de Juarez right now, and I'm outside my apartment, and I don't know why that, you know what, I can't get video for you, but I'll try to send some photos. I'm accompanied today by Etel Trova, who is a fabulous musician, and we're gonna give you just a little fun because I'm in the middle, and I thought, you know, maybe my poetry would help. I'm gonna start off with one poem. Well, the first one that is in the Nalgas book, and I'm glad that Vincent is writing about war, because I have a thing about war too. And this one is called 3,000 Polquitas, and it's for those who have died in Iraq. So you're going to be hearing Etel's work in the background here. And anyway, aquí me la voy. I know they're out there, though I've never met them personally. Lately, I've imagined them at the HEB buying potato chips, the girly ones waiting in line for a purple pedicure, getting a tire fixed on Culebra, or watching the Spurs at some bar on Roosevelt, barbacoa with a family on Sundays, a pickup game at Woodlawn, their cell phones beeping in hip hop. Hey, Rato. Hey, dude, what's up, baby doll? 3,000 y más soldiers have died. That makes 3,000 mothers desmayándose. 3,000 fathers who will never cry in public. 3,000 sisters, hermanas, tíos and tías, primos and carnales, abuelitas, abuelos, teachers, preachers, and secret keepers. Some had boyfriends too, I'm sure. Wives, husband, and babies with pañales to clean lacy panties to put away, trocas and new motorcycles, puppies and engagement rings, trophies and old blue jeans to wear when they got back. Over there on the other side of the world, a place where they've never slurped a Big Red, I figure at least another 3,000 of those they call insurgents, 3,000 women widowed, if you include those caught in the crossfire or the bombs, and the children playing soccer on the wrong side of the street, pillows waiting for their dreamers, 3,000 hand-me-down satchels, lonely teddy bears and burned fur kittens, the mother's heirloom dishes broken, and the father's lime cologne dripping on the floor as the baker's warm bread rises for 3,000 less, while 3,000 bubbles float in the sky from soapy white slips smelling of smoke. If only it was just 3,000 cigarettes, 3,000 stars that burn like candles on 3,000 birthday cakes, 3,000 make-a-wishes, 3,000 goodbye kisses, and 3,000 prayers for a good life. 3,000 round and round, like one of our good time polquitas. 3,000 songs, 3,000 steps, 3,000 ways to say, I hate you. I love you. I hate you. I love you. Please forgive me. Okay. All right. So the next poem is from my new work, which is a crazy book I've written, and it's called Velma is a Rain Goddess, to be published somewhere sometime. But the title is What the Pecan Tree Says to the Lilac of the South in Demetria's Garden. And Demetria is actually Mother Earth, and she has a very voluptuous garden in a city that's in a drought because the men are abusing the women and the animals. So, orale, you're pretty, but what else are you good for? I'm a pie, a candy, ice cream, cookies, a raspa, I'm shaved. And what can you do besides look pretty? Did you know that puto, cabeza de vaca wrote about me, along with the pinche squirrels, raccoons, javelinas, possums, and they eat my nuts. Crows and blue jays too. I'm 100 feet tall. Y tú, shorty, pura red and hot pink. ¿Y qué? There is no Thanksgiving without me, ¿sabes? Emma even went to jail because of me. Can you say that? Listen, they make dining room tables for me, chairs. I am important. I am strong. And you're the one they put on the postcards. I'm also not selfish. I share my water with los vatos, Guajillo, el mero mero mezquite, Huizache, Anacahuita, Guayaca, Coyotillo, Tepehuaje, even you, that great Myrtle. Acá Lucina pulverulenta, hi, tú. All the immigrant trees need to go back where they came from. It's a long list. And when are you going to give yourself a real name? Your own. Who made up these names anyway? And a little music for you.
Mi forma de vida hoy. Y medité lo que hay entre tú y yo. He decidido mandarte al infierno, sí. Que nunca regreses hasta que vaya yo. He vagado en silencio por caminos oscuros. Y conjuré lo que hay entre tú y yo. Solo te queda tu alma de acero, toda embargada por la polución. Oh, 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 no quiero farsas ni versos estrellados. Encaramado corazón de neón. Almas rabiosas circulan tus calles. Enfermedades y discriminación. Que no comprendes que ya no quiero verte. No te me acerques, no quiero oír tu voz. Ya muchas veces quisiste enredarme con tu falsa conducta y desesperación. Oh, 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 he vagado en silencio por caminos oscuros y conjuré lo que hay entre los dos. Solo te queda tu alma de acero, toda embargada por la polución. Oh, 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 Gracias.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, all of you. Thank all of you, and I love your work very much. You inspire me. Gracias.
You are muted, Juan.
Juan, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I had put it on mute in the meantime. Sorry, so I was just saying thanks again to Barbara Renaud Gonzalez coming to you live from Oaxaca, Mexico. And her accompanist there, a musician that she met, Etel Trova, a guitarist, Música Trova. And you can hear his music also, Trivialidades, available on YouTube. Sorry we couldn't get video on Barbara. Little technical problems here, but we're going to go ahead and continue. If you're interested in more information on Aztlan Libre Press or any of the authors reading here today, just go to our website at aztlanlibrepress.com. Our next poet is Reyes Cardenas. And if you don't know who Reyes Cardenas is, then you don't know Chicano poetry, he says. Originally from Seguin, Texas, he is the author of 8 books, 5 of which were published in the 70s and 80s. And in 2013, Aztlan Libre Press published his book, Chicano Poet, 1970 to 2010, a 40-year retrospective of his work, which includes excerpts from his first 5 books, plus 6 complete, never before published collections of poetry. Most recently, he has published 2 books with Flower Song Press, Tortured Barrio Songs, 2019, and Flirting with the Past in 2020. Please welcome Reyes Cardenas.
Thank you, Juan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to read from the Aztlan Libre Press book. This one is called By the Time I Get to Phoenix. By the time I get to Phoenix, you'll be gone. You'll be in handcuffs, leaving your American kids behind. You left your green card at home, and you're on your way to Mexico. By the time I get to Albuquerque, you won't find a job across the border. By the time I make Oklahoma, you'll be crossing that big desert. By the time I get to Texas, I'll hear they found your body. This one is called The Pencil. I was a wild, unkept Mexican farm boy, rock throwing, foul mouth, forced to join civilization, start school in other words. In the first grade, I stabbed Esperanza in the palm of her hand with my pencil. Years later, when we'd become adults, she showed me the tiny bit of lead still embedded in her hand. I felt no guilt because it had been some other me who had done that. Yet now, in my old age, I realize I'm still that rock-throwing, foul-mouthed Mexican farm boy who can't be trusted with a pencil. This one is called When Henry Was Growing Up. When Henry was growing up, he couldn't understand the white kids. He just assumed that they hadn't learned to speak yet. But after a while, he figured they were having trouble learning Spanish. Maybe they just weren't too bright. Yet Henry didn't make fun of them, but those white kids never did learn Spanish. I got one more that I'll read. And this is a Homemade Girl about the Palestinian struggle. The 16-year-old Palestinian girl, bomb strapped under her breast to hide the bulge, walks into the pizza place and triggers the bomb. There's no sound, no pain. That was easy. Everything became nothing. They find pieces of her hair, skin, brain matter, mixed with pizza stuck on a chair. But they find that her mind is still intact and lying on the floor. Her thoughts are there for all to see. But all of us, every single one of us, looks away before we start thinking what she's thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Reyes. The Horrors of War. From his book, Chicano Poet, that we published here at Aztlan Libre Press. We're going to continue. We started a little bit late, so we're going to go probably till about 4:30. A couple of more readers. Ben Olguin is originally from the barrio of Magnolia in Houston, Texas, and is an educator and professor now living in Southern California. He's the author of several academic books and 2 poetry collections, including At the Risk of Seeming Ridiculous, Poems from Cuba Libre, published by Aztlan Libre Press in 2014. This book is based on his experiences as a member of the Venceremos Brigade, which travels to Cuba annually to participate in people-to-people diplomacy in the larger worldwide struggle for socialism and liberation for all. Mr. Ben Olguin, glad to have you coming all the way from Southern California. What city are you in, Ben?
I'm living in Goleta, California, about 80 miles out of LA.
All right.
Yeah, I mean it's dreadfully boring out here. I miss Tejas as much as I hate it, and anyway, there's struggle everywhere. There's contradictions everywhere. So everywhere is a place to fight. I want to just share 2 poems from this collection. And thank you for inviting me and for publishing this book. And, I want to give some props to Aztlan Libre Press because you're not afraid to publish the iconoclasts, the scandalosas, the meta-critique of Amalia. I mean, this such sophisticated visionary critiques, proletarian visions that are revolutionary from Reyes, one of the most revolutionary artists I've ever read anywhere in the whole world. And it just goes on. I mean, Vincent's Verite Barrio stuff. I mean, this is a great stable, as they say, right? It's not a good metaphor, right? Because caballos, that's what. And when I was a boxer, we were in boxing stables. It's appropriate there. Writers, I don't know, but sometimes somos burros, so maybe we belong in the stables. But I want to share 2 poems that speak to the present. There's a lot of people looking at the left options. Now, there's a lot of raza socialists, democratic socialists, kind of socialism light, but it's a start, right? But there's always been a raza left. Right now, there's un chingo de zapatistas, the anarchists, right? And a lot of communists, right? I count myself among them. So I'm going to read a poem about the brigade and our encounter with people who actually fought alongside Che Guevara and some lessons that they taught us. They were simple, but like Reyes's, poetry is just like nuggets of wisdom in short little aphorisms that are just laden with meaning and potential. So anyway, this first poem is called A Cornfield in Cuba, and it's about all the different ways we still need to keep working on ourselves to become true revolutionaries, which I definitely am not one yet. A cornfield in Cuba. We work wet fingertips deep into silky mud, searching for roots of weeds that must be pulled for the corn to grow as it should. Each of us has a row of our own running up the Sierra Maestra. We are all new to this type of work, except Ezekiel from Oxnard. He picked strawberries for 5 cents a pound before he knew how to spell his name. He'll never eat another strawberry, he says, if the price is too low. And it is always too low because the pay is too. That is why he has come to Cuba, to work for free so people can eat for free. Ezekiel is the only one to join the party, even though we call ourselves communists back home. How could we not be ashamed of getting stuck in chocolate mud that hugs like a desperate lover? The leathered Cuban compañero with teeth like maíz doesn't care about this and just keeps saying, es un honor trabajar con ustedes. He's got his own role, but helps others, so he can ask questions in between the one we keep asking about what it was like to fight alongside Che. We pull weeds with each word of praise from this man, arms like a bazooka and a smile like a Caribbean sun that has broken free of storm clouds. It took the whole day of digging side by side before we realized he really meant what he said. He, too, is an internationalist. For his 45th birthday, he faced down South African nuclear bombs in the Battle of Quito Canavale. We pull weeds as best we can, ashamed at our slow pace and fatigue we can't hide. But he knows what our meager work means and what it could lead to after each row is done. And again, I urge you all to look into the brigade. San Antonio sends a lot of people every year. It was suspended this year, and we're sending people from Southern California as well. And it's a really important consciousness raising space. You get a lot of different political perspectives, visions, people, and we see socialism at work in all its imperfections. But we see socialism at work, again, in all its imperfections, and that's really important because, again, one of the things Amalia teaches us, it's in the critique that we make revolution. So join the brigade. Join the 10,000. This one is for the poets, right? For the writers of the festival, for the writers of Aztlan Libre. Just my little gift to you for welcoming me into this stable. It's called Explico Algunas Cosas, from a poem or a collection by Pablo Neruda about his experiences in the Spanish Civil War. And it has a preface. And again, the preface is from Raúl Salinas, a true revolutionary, again, in all his imperfections. And his epigraph is from the poem about invasion and conquest. And it reads in part, and today, when 500 winters have passed, among the survivors are poets sitting in circle, telling the story of peoples in struggle, in total resistencia and with plena dignidad. So this is about, again, the poets in the brigade, which is basically everybody. In shirt pockets, faded dungarees, or backpacks caked with red mud, everyone carries small blank books with yellow, white, black, and red covers that someday will make us whole. We are all storytellers in the brigade, trying to figure out what it means to pull weeds, cut cane, pick oranges, scrape paint, haul concrete, and stack fresh yellow copies of La Historia de América, as the poor remember it. This is what a book is. Sharp corners of pulped wood cut into a weapon by industrial blades, each page sharp as a machete, and words with letters curved and cut like miniature swords, daggers, rifles spouting dotted eyes, and exclamation marks in poems ending with revolución. A poem is most dangerous when it doesn't tell the truth about a farmer's creased leathered hand or bones from a grave everyone has forgotten. Stories are most dangerous when writers become so certain of a beautiful line they don't notice the children of woodcutters and paper makers who will never learn to read. There is no time for metaphors when an irrigation ditch needs to be dug. No one has patience for metaphysics when the printing press needs repairs to ensure students have books when school starts after harvest. We write stories every day, in little blank books made in a factory by a woman named Gloria with 3 children and a husband who drinks too much. Or another print shop in China, or India, or Kokomo, Indiana. Stories and poems scratched in cornfields, on the bus or tractor ride back to camp. Each wavy word carving a row through hardened pulp page fields, taken over by people armed with guns, and a beautiful idea someone shared. This is what a book must be, and a poem. So I'll just end there, and I thank y'all for including me here.
Thank you, Ben. Ben Olguin reading from his book, At the Risk of Seeming Ridiculous, Poems from Cuba Libre, that we published back in 2014. I can't believe it's been that long. Thank you all for being here. We're going to close out the Aztlan Libre Press showcase presentations here of these different poetas with Amalia Leticia Ortiz, who's a Tejana poet and playwright who appeared on 3 seasons of Russell Simmons Presents Deaf Poetry on HBO. She was awarded a NALAC Fund for the Arts grant to film music videos for her latest book, The Canción Cannibal Cabaret and Other Songs, which we at Aztlan Libre Press published in 2019, and which was awarded the 2020 American Book Award in Oral Literature from the Before Columbus Foundation. Amalia received her MFA in creative writing from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and she's coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. Amalia.
Hello, shout out to RGV peeps, specifically La Feria, go Lions. Lion pride never dies. I had a set list, and this happens every time. I have a set list, and right before I read, I change my mind. I don't even know why I make the list anymore. But earlier, Barbara Jane gave a shout out to Shock G, and then I was like, oh, I should do this other poem. So this is Loop Did, and it's from the book. The first part of the book tells a story of a feminist POC revolution. And so this is from the back of the book, the B-sides. Loop Did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. One man's genius is another man's stupid. Now waddled in Spanish. Now they're coming for our street tongue. If we don't alert the young, they won't be able to speak to no one. I control my own words. Digital underground dared me. Activism prepared me. Literary critics don't scare me. My serpent tongue licks the English only wounds which impaired me. This counter narrative act of language reclamation repairs me. They teach that hip hop is postmodern deconstruction, but that analysis of the music ignores its primary function. This ain't for the upper classes, it's for working class masses. Put away your opera glasses, drop your monocle, shake your asses, and use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. One man's genius is another man's stupid. This isn't iambic pentameter or counted verse, but I had to prove I knew what all that fancy shit was first before I could spit what ails me. I hope it don't stale me. I'm the opposite of fresh, an MC with 2 degrees, but now I can't communicate with my thesis committee. Get myself off the rancho or out of the inner city. No looking back on the gritty. Now that me talk pretty, attend an academic function where I front like I'm witty. But when I go back home, folks on my block are the same. All their stories go unheard unless their tongues are reclaimed. I keep my ear on the sidewalk, my eye on the real prize. Ignore all the vendidos who bought into the lies. I do it all for mi gente. Delincuentes pa frente. Te dedico mis palabras, mi amor y mi mente. So I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. One man's genius is another man's stupid. They teach that spoken word is provincial and populist when they're pedantic and abstruse. I spit your own jargon back at you. I'm still othered. So what's the real excuse? We're relegated to the margins, but by no means is this marginal abuse invisible till marketable when they discover that we're a money maker to mass produce. What, why, how? Who gives a fuck about an Oxford comma? Whites are a right to fight it. But brown folks got to master the master's tongue to prove that we ain't out to blight it. So many typewriters slighted. I write to fight it, because others quite trite are constantly cited. Forget the 1%, we're the 99 crashing the party, we're never invited. We create the language, they steal it, sell it back to me. That's why little white girl singing Who Dat feels like such a personal attack to me. Cause my little brother's been answering the phone the same way every day since the 3rd grade, saying, yo, who dis? But society don't love him and that little white girl the same way. Is it his dark skin tattoo reading Flacco or his afro he rocks like Be Real getting loco? Our school system failed him. Now privatized prisons loom hoping to jail him. No clue of what ails him, yet a big ass doctor bill is always mailed him because he used a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. We use a word that don't mean nothing, like Loop did. One man's genius is another man's stupid. Let's see. I don't have a lot of time. Let's see if I can get through 2 more. And on the spot, I got to make some choices. All right. This is something I wrote, Drones on Mars, after Gil Scott Heron's Whitey on the Moon. An Arctic blast hit Texas the same week drones landed on Mars. Pipes froze, busted, and began to leak, but drones are now on Mars. Millions lost power all over the state, but drones are now on Mars. Our politicians seem to hibernate while drones landed on Mars. Many homes were worse than camping sites while drones landed on Mars. No water, no heat, no goddamn lights, but hey, drones are now on Mars. Now, I can't pay my electric bill with drones landing on Mars. I heard 10 years from now, we'll be paying still, but drones are now on Mars. Texas was abandoned by Ted fled crews. Talking heads blame windmills on the news. Greg Abbott looked warm in that Fox studio. When we vote again, they all have to go because an Arctic blast hit South Texas the same week drones landed on Mars. Pipes froze, busted, and began to leak, but hey, drones are now on Mars. At least 111 people died in the storm while drones are now on Mars. Oil, gas, and ERCOT can't keep us warm, but drones are now on Mars. Were all the taxes we paid last year for drones to land on Mars? How come that money isn't spent right here, huh? Drones are now on Mars. You know, just like Gil, I've had my fill of drones landing on Mars. We should all mail our next electric bills. COD. No, not to Mars, to Ted Cruz. 3028 Ellery Lane, Houston, Texas, 77019. Right. I got one last poem. It's shorter. This is also for RGV. This is a song for my Tío Roberto for, it was like 12 to 13 years. He was the janitor at the Valle Vista Mall in Harlingen. And I liked going to the mall, but it was always awkward when I saw my Tío because I was a teen and didn't have a fully developed brain and was embarrassed when he's like taking people's cans and recycling them. But this is a song for my Tío Roberto I wrote during the pandemic. Just so grateful for all the people who clean up our mess. Blessed be the janitor. Blessed be the cleaning lady. Blessed be the groundskeeper, the disposers of waste, gatherers of death and decay, the custodian, the sanitation worker. Psalms for those who scrub and scour. Sacred are those who sweep. Praise for those who banish trash. Sanctified are those who sanitize. Not unlike historical martyrs with metaphorical palm fronds, their ritual objects shunned. The broom, the sponge, the mop, the vacuum. These, their saintly emblems. Where are their altares, vestments, candles lit in thanks? What is their feast day? Holy are the laying of hands reaching inside trash bags, retrieving recyclable cans. Alabanza, alabanza, and more alabanza to all those who dive into the mess of our humanity. Blessings, blessings, and more blessings unending to those who allow the masses to live clean as though absolved.
All right, Amalia, our last featured poet today, originally from el Valle del Rio Grande in Texas, La Feria. And we're glad to have you here in San Antonio now. I want to thank all of the writers and poets who performed, Laurie Guerrero, Edward Vidaurre, Barbara Jane Reyes, Vincent Cooper, Barbara Renaud Gonzalez, all the way from Oaxaca, Mexico, Reyes Cardenas outside of Austin, Texas, Ben Olguin from Southern California over there, and Amalia Ortiz, one more time. On behalf of Aztlan Libre Press, gracias. Hope you enjoyed the readings. You can get more information on the press and all of these poets on our website at aztlanlibrepress.com. And thank you again, Edward Vidaurre and Rio Grande Valley International Poetry Festival for inviting Aztlan Libre Press and all of our our poets to come do this special presentation for y'all. Sorry about the little delay and the sort of technical problems there. Hopefully we didn't go too much into your presentation with your press, Edward. Thank
No,
you again.
actually, it's Get Fresh Books out of Jersey.
Oh, okay.
So
So
yeah,
hopefully-
they're waiting. So we're gonna say goodbye and thank you to everybody who was on and hanging out with Aztlan Libre Press. And we're gonna go with our familia from Get Fresh Books Publishing, and then we'll follow with Flower Song. So gracias a todos for being here, and we're going to see you all soon. So cuídense y adiós.
Oh, gracias.